Good morning and welcome everybody to the Crypto Mining Show, your one-stop shop for all cryptocurrency news from the perspective of a cryptocurrency miner. And yes, I'm rocking a new haircut. We're going to shave up a little bit. We're going to go to that job interview here in a little while and hopefully pick it up and ditch this YouTube crap because it's not paying anything as far as the bills. There we go. But for now, we got you guys here because we don't have a day job quite yet. So we're going to talk about my favorite topic because I do that because I enjoy it, and that is going to be cryptocurrency. So today we're going to be talking about FTX. Yes, the collapse of basically the entire cryptocurrency market, the fall of an empire, the destruction of centralized crypto as it should be, and I do not mind it one little bit. Let every single centralized entity surrounding crypto crash and go bankrupt, especially hopefully the power companies and the nation states that are pricing out everybody that is trying to mine it and hurting the little guy. Them all to hell. Let's get into it right after a word from today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is myself. To support the channel, click the join button below the video and you will get access to our privately hosted Rocket Chat. Selecting the $1.99 option will get you access, and after that you need to head over to the membership tab, scroll down, and expand out your membership perks. Find the section for connecting on social media, and in that section there will be a secret registration URL to join Rocket Chat, where you can sign up to enjoy talking with other cryptocurrency enthusiasts and miners without spammers, scammers, or bots. Ho, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. So first thing that we need to talk about is Alameda's Ethereum wallet holdings, because obviously Ethereum is going to be a big deal to talk about just as it sits, right? So crypto fund Alameda's Ethereum wallet holdings slumped 50% since October. This is going to give us a little bit of a background on what is going on here and what really led to everything that's been going down over the past 48 hours, of which, like, to be completely honest with you, I'm not even fully clear on, like, look, this is nuts. Basically, you had some sort of play from Binance, that was essentially like strong arming FTX into a position that made them compromise so that Binance could take advantage of that. And you're consolidating, just like the miners are doing right now, right? The mergers and acquisitions, the large miners that are succeeding during this bear market are kind of gobbling up all the other little miners and become one huge conglomerate, right? Marathon Digital and Riot Blockchain, for example, really just buying everything up. Well, that's happening on the cryptocurrency exchange side as well, the centralized exchange side. And what we've kind of seen over the past little bit is a bunch of gobbling up from Binance and FTX. FTX was actually kind of one of the ones that a lot of people saw as being successful, gobbling up a lot of the small guys like Celsius and so on. And so this one just comes at a crazy surprise, to a lot of people. Now, BitBoy Crypto had talked about it in the past. He had kind of alluded to this being something that was going to happen. And there were a few people that had saw it and talked about it, sure, early on, but it wasn't something I think that a majority of people expected to happen, right? And the thing is like, here are some of the signs that we can take a look at, right? Crypto fund Alameda Research holds just over $222 million in cryptocurrencies over 56 Ethereum addresses. Analysis by on-chain researcher Look On-Chain showed Wednesday. That's half the more than $500 million it had October 1st, according to data compiled by The Block. Ethereum fell just over 8% in the same period. Alameda has come under scrutiny following a CoinDesk report last week that found its balance sheet was full of FTT, the native token of crypto exchange FTX. Both companies are owned by Sam Bankman-Fried, meaning the trading fund rested on a foundation largely made up of a coin invented by its sister company, not an independent asset like a fiat currency or another crypto. So basically, think of it this way, right? I create a YouTube channel company and I create my cryptocurrency mining company, and then I create a token for my YouTube channel. We'll call it SOT token for now, just for fun. And then because my mining company is failing, I just take a bunch of investment of my own coin that I create, or own token that I create out of thin air, and I dump it into the mining company to make it look like it's worth more, so that I can get some collateral and take a loan from maybe somebody else based on its perceived value off of a fake token, and then buy some mining rigs. That's my strategy, and I'm sticking to it. Don't tell anybody. Yeah, crap. Anyways, that's kind of the idea here, right? More than $150 million of Alameda's tokens are held in its Ethereum wallets, with 50% of that held in just one wallet. Another 13 addresses hold more than $1 million and 19 contain $100,000. Some $75 million worth of tokens is held in decentralized finance-based wallets. Crypto holdings over $1 million consist of stable coins, either BitDAO and FTT. Alameda has a debt of $3.6 million overall, the research shows. Alameda supplied over 6.9 million FTT, worth $35 million at writing time, to DeFi lending application Abracadabra. Another $4.6 million, or 4.6 million sushi, worth of $6.11 million is held on DeFi exchange SushiSwap. quote, she could withdraw and sell at any time, end quote, Look On Chain said, referring to Alameda co-CEO Caroline Ellison, who also, by the way, removed that she actually works at Alameda from her Twitter profile yesterday as well. Alameda has not responded to a request regarding what they intend to do with their Ethereum holdings by publication time. So it's important to kind of understand where this came from, understand that this does cause a broader issue across the cryptocurrency market, especially like in this particular case, DeFi and Ethereum, and you're going to want to pay attention to it. And it doesn't really end there, right? We have a ton of stuff to take a look at. Crypto exchanges are scrambling to compile proof of reserves as FTX contagion grips the market. So, like I said, when we talk about contagion, it's like, obviously, it's the failure of FTX basically bleeding over into everything else. And because of that, you're going to be in a position where even if you aren't directly related to what's happening, like you're not Alameda Research, you're not Binance, you're not whatever. Let's say you're a separate, completely separate exchange, MEXC, even the smaller ones, probably not as much, but like Trade Ogre, stuff like that. Because of the contagion, because of the eye that's going to be like basically pressed onto all exchanges at this point, you have to make sure that you're above reproach. Part of that, of course, would be compiling proof of reserves. 9 prominent crypto exchanges said they will publish proof of their reserve holdings in the next month. Crypto exchanges are now scrambling to publicly publish their fund reserves as insolvency fears grapple crypto investors following contagion risks from liquidity issues at FTX. The most hilarious part about all this, in my humble opinion, real quick, is that Sam Bankman-Fried a couple months ago was like essentially saying that exchanges, more exchanges than you would expect were insolvent. And then there's a meme that's like, you mean FTX? Oh no. Yeah. And it's like, yeah. And it's my exchange, right? In the past 24 hours, 9 exchanges, Binance, Gate.io, KuCoin, Poloniex, BitGet, Huobi, OKX, Deribit, and Bybit have separately issued statements that they would publish their Merkle Tree reserve certificates to increase transparency. Binance and KuCoin did not return requests for comment regarding the 1-month period, which may be considered long given current conditions at writing time. A Merkle tree is, to be fair, now KuCoin probably more in this particular aspect should do it faster than 30 days. Binance, maybe not so much, because like Binance is clearly buying out FTX, so they can be like, just wait, we're good. We're literally buying out FTX. At least you would think. Because if you recall, once again, FTX was doing the same thing just a little bit ago with some of the smaller guys, right? Especially CeFi guys. In a centralized crypto exchange, every user's assets are recorded by the ledger of a centralized database. The recorded assets in the database are in the total amount of the user's assets. Using Merkle trees allows exchanges to store each user account's hash value of assets in the leaf nodes of the Merkle tree. The second step is to audit those assets in the leaf node of the Merkle tree and verify all the user's holdings by a third party. Crypto exchange Binance founder Changpeng Zhao urged industry players to provide proof of reserves following yesterday's events involving FTX and Binance. Elsewhere, crypto entrepreneur Justin Sun said Huobi, I don't know, I can't pronounce that exchange, of which Sunday is a stakeholder and advisor, would conduct a third Merkle tree reserve test. FTX came under scrutiny following a CoinDesk report last week that found the balance sheet of Alameda Research, a crypto trading unit owned by Sam Bankman-Fried, who also owns FTX, was full of FTX's native FTT tokens. This meant that Alameda rested on a foundation largely made up of a coin that a sister company invented, not an independent asset like a fiat currency or another crypto. The report sparked rumors of FTX becoming possibly insolvent, which in turn led to industry players selling FTX-linked coins to protect their own downside. Rival Binance, which held over $500 million of FTT on its books, started to offload its holdings, which culminated in a 24-hour-long drama that ended with Binance signing in an intent to acquire FTX, which is now considered to, or by many, to be insolvent. Stablecoin issuer Circle, which counts FTX as an investor, played down its exposure to the troubled exchange, along with rival Tether and crypto exchange Coinbase. So there you go. That kind of wraps that up as far as like understanding what other exchanges are going to do in response to this. It's basically a proving game, right? Like right now is like a proving ground where essentially all these exchanges have to come out and show that they are above board because there are questions surrounding everybody else. And I think that what this does mean as a whole for the cryptocurrency market is it's going to be extremely bumpy. Why would I say that? Well, let's say Gate.io comes out and they show, hey, look, like we passed the Merkle tree test. Here's everything that's going on. Boom, market pumps up. But then KuCoin comes along and they try to pass the test and they fail. Boom, market crashes. This is why like a lot of people are calling like this whole thing like a contagion. Like basically it spreads across the entire market, and we are going to see, I think, increased volatility within the crypto market. Obviously not financial advice, especially since when I say volatility, I have no clue if it's going to go up or down or when it's going to go up and down. I would just assume that we would see a lot of up and down dependent on basically how these reports fan out over the next like month or so. That being said, what Binance is also doing to make sure that they are in a, to make sure that BNB is less volatile, is they are going to be topping up their emergency issuance fund or insurance fund, known as safu. Binance token related addresses were topped up with over 700 million in different tokens, while a Bitcoin address was funded with $300 million. If you guys could just send me like 10K, that would be great. The crypto exchange Binance has topped up its secure assets fund for users to an equivalent of $1 billion worth of various cryptocurrencies. Founder Changpeng Zhao, popularly known as CZ, confirmed in a tweet this morning. To adjust to recent price fluctuations, Binance has topped up the safu insurance fund to $1 billion USD equivalent, Zhao tweeted. Safu is an emergency insurance fund that was established by Binance in July of 2018 to protect users' funds. When the fund was established, Binance committed a percentage of trading fees to grow it to a sizable level to safeguard users. The fund's value fluctuates based on the market, and safu fund wallets, which are comprised of BNB, BUSD, and Bitcoin. Now, obviously, for the users, Bitcoin is going to be the number one important one, but another note about this is this fund, right, was established during the previous crypto winter in 2018. And it's going to be important to pay attention to like the companies that are basically going to follow suit with Binance and follow their example that they set in the previous crypto winter, because it's clear that Binance is in a position to be able to survive crypto winters. And I think when we look at like the mining side of things too, this is going to be important to pay attention to, because I think we're going to see the most failure of cryptocurrency miners over this crypto winter, especially Bitcoin miners, right? And paying attention to who is successful and how they basically put themselves in a good position is going to be extremely important, so you can plan out in the future how you're going to do it. For example, right, being in a position where you get out early and get into a cash position before another winter, and paying attention to the Bitcoin halving cycles, right? Now, safu addresses hold over 700 million in Binance ecosystem token BNB, Binance USD, a stablecoin. The Bitcoin address holds over 300 million worth of BTC. So I would like to know essentially the disbursement between BNB and Binance, because BNB being a part of it, right, is not really much different than FTT token. And you really want the Binance USD, so your stable coin, which is hopefully backed obviously 1-to-1 with the US dollar, and Bitcoin to really make up a majority. I would assume you would want that to make up a majority of these emergency funds. Crypto markets whipsawed in the past 24 hours amid volatile market dynamics due to speculation surrounding prominent exchanges FTX's liquidity issues. Speculation surrounding the Sam Bankman-Fried's owned crypto exchange grew so intense that the firm agreed to sell itself to bigger rival Binance, sparking panic among traders. So there's where you're at as far as that's concerned. Like, pay attention to what Binance is doing to maintain throughout crypto winters for centralized exchanges. And I'm gonna talk about this in a bit too, but we got more. So I wanted to highlight an article on Market Watch, primarily because we did have we had specifically a quote from Daniel Keller here. And I wanted to give you guys, Daniel Keller, for the uninitiated, is the co-founder of Flux, which is a Web3 cryptocurrency project that encompasses not only a currency itself, but also a wallet technology as well as Web3 functionality. And I think that getting his perspective on something like this is beneficial, especially for the future of crypto. But he said, quote, "I'm fearful that the decentralization that we have all strived for is at risk. And this is a perfect example of why," said Daniel Keller, co-founder of Flux, a decentralized cloud infrastructure, in an email to Market Watch. "When we place the future of DeFi and decentralization in the hands of a couple key industry players, we are back to square one in legacy finance. My hopes this ongoing game with leverage and high risk of user funds will end soon." Keller said that this is another reason why decentralized finance needs to grow quickly, adding that in a bear market, many crypto-related projects begin to falter and users' assets are at risk. Some question if this acquisition means crypto is dying out. Pascal Gauthier, the CEO and chairman of Ledger, a hardware wallet for crypto assets, said crypto isn't going away, but this acquisition highlights an important aspect of security and centralized exchanges. People have legitimate reason to worry about the security of their digital assets if one of the world's largest centralized exchanges ends up in financial difficulties, he said to Market Watch. Gauthier further added that there will be more critical digital assets in our future than less, quote, "which is why users should take ownership of their crypto keys." You know, it is funny that everybody preaches taking ownership of your crypto keys, and we have like flickering lights in here. I don't know why it's flickering so much. It's bothering me. But excuse me, I don't know why we all of a sudden have flickering lights, but let's keep moving on, I suppose. The thing is, right, is like on this channel, we've been promoting, you know, not your keys, not your crypto for a long time, right? Since the very inception, since 2017, really since like late 2016. Like, I've been doing this for a long time. Most of y'all probably didn't hear about me until 2020, right? And then you probably won't, most of y'all will forget about me, and then you'll hear back from me in 2024. Look, that's the way this goes. We're in the cycles. That being said, like, there are a few things that remain true about cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is by definition a political movement. If you don't see that and understand that, I'm sorry. If your entire focus is to make money off of crypto and you don't understand what crypto services as like an actual like tool, I think that you're going to be amiss. I think that like what I try to push on the channel is basically, once again, you know, individual sovereignty, financial freedom, those sorts of things that are supplied that cryptocurrency could be utilized as a tool to achieve. And I think that when we look at centralized exchanges, they are the antithesis in general to what would ultimately be the crypto utopia, right? Which is where you have essentially a system where I exchange peer-to-peer with you without the interference of a third party. The reason why we have centralized exchanges, etc., is we are in the middle of the old world and transforming into a new world. Right now, I don't know where that new world goes. I don't know if it ends up being completely centralized under the federal governments via a CBDC, and that's how and digital currencies are tracked in that manner, or if you do see a more close to crypto utopia where it is completely decentralized and everybody is able to interact with each other directly without the interference of any basically third party, including government, right? Or some sort of hybrid, which is more likely that happens here in the, that is definitely going to happen here in the near future, which is where I think you will have coexistence of CBDCs. You will have people opting out and utilizing cryptocurrency, and you will have basically nation states and banks fighting each other while also trying to come down on the public for transacting without them being able to take a piece of the pie. And the thing is like I said this before on Twitter, I stand by it. There will come a time, I think in the near future, where cryptocurrency or even possessing or owning any sort of cryptocurrency will be considered illegal by a certain portion of nation states. Will that include the US and Canada or the UK? Possibly. Actually, more than likely, the answer would be yes, especially as it pertains to the US. I would think in the US, though, you would have some basically sanctuary states for cryptocurrency, i.e., I think you would have Florida as a sanctuary state and Texas as a sanctuary state. But if you live in New York, you will get pursued and taken down by the New York Police Department and your crypto will be confiscated. There is a possibility of that in the state side of things. But I do think that there's no way you can have essentially coexistence of a centralized system and a fully decentralized system, because the fact of the matter is the centralized system is dependent purely on the work of its citizens to make money, right? As far as the US dollar goes, the value of the US dollar is based on people's need to use it. I mean, ever since it lost its gold backing and the gold standard, the only value to the US dollar is that people are forced to use it to purchase oil from Saudi Arabia. That is the end cut and dry of it. And if you diminish the use, if there is something that threatens the use of the US dollar, then that threatens the value of the US dollar. And you're not just going to see the federal government sit by and say that's okay. I'm sorry, like that's just not going to happen. So then you're going to be in a position where a majority of the population is going to be like, okay, well, I don't want to touch that because I don't want to get in trouble, right? And I think like it's going to get really, really weird. And I think that there's going to be basically, like I said, a certain amount of nation states, a certain amount of governments, right? Whether that be even just like more localized state government or federal government rules that do come down. And I do think the US dollar is at significant risk compared to, you know, the rest of maybe the world. That being said, let's talk more about the collapse of the FTX empire. Let's get a full rundown of this so you guys understand what's happening. Once again, when we see centralized exchanges are a necessary evil in a society that is still based on centralized systems to function. And you could be the most hardcore fundamental Bitcoiner maximalist ever, and the fact of the matter is that centralized systems right now have to exist, and there has to be some sort of exchange between this during a transition. It's no different than this. I don't know, maybe I worked in IT, so maybe this would help you guys out a little bit. Let's say you work in IT and you're shifting. There's new technology coming out, right? Well, you don't just completely abandon the old technology and turn it off, because it makes it a lot harder to turn on the new technology, okay? A great example, I was a cloud solutions architect. So I would take on-premises servers, like hard physical servers that were there that utilized essentially virtualized VMs, virtualized servers, which we could even go even further back to where you had a single computer running a single application, and then virtualization came along. But let's just do actually, this is actually easier. I have one computer running one application, or let's say 5 computers each running one application. And I'm moving to a new system where I'm going to just have one computer running 5 applications, right? So I'm moving, I'm upgrading. Well, I don't just turn off all the old applications, because I still need my business to be functioning and running during that time. So I would have to do what's called a P to V, which would be a physical to virtual, basically conversion. Yes, I am upgrading, I am changing, but in the interim, I will have some sort of hybrid setup. Maybe I have one application that I got moved over from a physical server, one physical server, to now my host, but I still have the 4 up. I'm not going to shut the next 4 down. I'm going to individually migrate each one over to the new technology. And that is no different than what happens at a grand scale when we're talking about moving from centralized systems to decentralized systems, right? And this is something that people need to understand. I can be fundamental and say I want everything to move to decentralization, but not be completely off base and not understand the fact that there will always be little pieces that you have to move. The reason I wanted to use essentially, and I do want to go back to this on-premises to cloud infrastructure, is there is something known as like a hybrid system, where you have some portions of your code or whatever it may be of your application still running on a system that is localized, right? And then a portion of it that's run in the cloud, and that's called hybrid, to where you basically have like some sort of hybrid setup. And I think here, as far as like the way it's going to function within currency and Bitcoin and the US dollar and fiat currencies, is that we will have some sort of hybrid system during the transition. Because if you don't have some sort of hybrid system and it completely collapses, well, the business collapses. And in this case, with currency, what collapses? The entire world collapses, right? But what about the collapse of the FTX empire? We'll talk about elections next week. Hello, folks. It is election day in the US, and that's what's going to be my main focus today up until about 11:05 Eastern. Anyway, that's the point when Sam Bankman-Fried announced that his company FTX would enter a transaction with Binance, which Binance CEO Changpeng Zhao later clarified was a letter of intent for Binance to acquire FTX. Well, today has been a day. I had a whole election thing planned, but we're not going to know what's happening for a while anyway. So instead, I'm going to refer you to the links below to catch up on today's news. So why it matters: FTX was a huge player according to CoinGecko. As of this morning, FTX was the 4th largest exchange by volume. Sam Bankman-Fried was a huge donor during the midterm elections and was a leading voice on some legislation. He might still be, but his company going from being fined to signing a letter of intent with Binance over the course of 2 days might have some long-term ramifications. We'll have more on this in the coming days, but for now, catch up on last week, the last week of chaos here. So breaking it down is pretty much all they're doing. The whole thing started last week when their colleague over here, Ian Allison, reported that Alameda Research, a trading firm founded by Bankman-Fried and tied to FTX, held a remarkable number of FTT tokens on its balance sheet. FTT is the token issued by FTX. And here's what happened next. Binance to sell the rest of the FTX holdings as Alameda CEO defends firm's financial condition. We've covered a lot of this here on this channel, so I'm going to scroll through it. So They say we're going to need some time to figure out the implications. Bankman-Fried personally was a major donor this past election cycle. A political action committee backed by Bankman-Fried is even rumored to be the next main super PAC to receive President Joe Biden's blessing in the next election cycle. There's also regulatory implications. FTX US Derivatives, formerly Ledger, has a number of CFTC licenses. So what I wanted to point out here, and look, I'm going to get political, but Sam Bankman-Fried was backing the Liberal Party in a majority of posts that he was putting out. And so you want to take a look at that and just consider what kind of legislation he would be wanting to put into place and if that is actually in the best interest for cryptocurrency. So you want to look at who he's backing and so on, right? Especially because we have these midterms that have been coming on, and we're going to be talking about that too. So let's go ahead and get into politics for today, and we'll get it going. This is going to be fun, right? So U.S. midterm elections to set the tone for Bitcoin miners in the future. Obviously on this channel, we cover cryptocurrency mining, and this is a very hot topic politically because it does involve the environment, right? And the fact of the matter is that midterm elections in the United States, where we have basically 40% of the hash power for Bitcoin mining, will directly impact cryptocurrency, whether you like it or not. Whether you want to talk about it or not, it's happening. So, if you ignore politics, then, then you won't have a say in Bitcoin mining, in my humble opinion. You have to pay attention to what's happening here. The midterm elections are key to determining the industry's future, which is increasingly under attack by environmental advocates. Bitcoin miners across the U.S. are looking to Tuesday's midterm elections for a signal on the future of environmental policy, which may impact their expansions and operations. Since President Joe Biden took office almost 2 years ago, Bitcoin mining has garnered attention in the U.S. political landscape as miners moved their operations en masse from China and new investments were made domestically. The midterms are crucial for policy because they could set the tone for how the industry is perceived at both the state and federal level as they weigh approaches to the industry, said Kyle Schneps, Director of Public Policy at digital asset mining and staking infrastructure firm Foundry, which is owned by CoinDesk's parent company, Digital Currency Group. As more miners expanded in the U.S., Democratic lawmakers led by Senator Elizabeth Warren have questioned the industry's large energy usage and impact on electricity grids throughout the country. Bitcoin mining consumes great amounts of electricity to secure the blockchain's network as specialized computers try to guess the answer to an equation. Not really how this works. I hate it when they say that, but for, basics, sure, okay. Which environmentalists think is working against U.S. and global climate goals. However, the Republicans have been a supporter of Bitcoin mining and crypto in general. Although the mining industry has tried to promote a bipartisan approach to lobbying, support has mostly come from right-wing or center politicians, said Ethan Vera. And this is, look, if you're on the left and you think that, and you support Bitcoin mining, you need to pay attention to what is actually happening. I hate to say it over and over again because I feel like a broken record, but it is clear that as far as policy is concerned, if you want the best policy that is in the interest of Bitcoin mining, you will lean to the right or center. Now, personally, I'm not right-wing. I'm more libertarian. But it's important to understand what your options are when you are voting. And we've talked about this running up to these midterms quite a lot, but here's why. Republicans are less likely to push the more stringent direction proposed in White House paper released early September, Vera said. The White House Office of Science and Technology Policy called for standards to reduce the industry's impact on the environment in a September report. Crypto broadly, and the mining in particular, has managed to stay largely bipartisan at the federal level, said Foundry Schneps. The biggest difference is not along party lines, but adoption. And I disagree because, we're going to talk about this here in just a second too. But in New York, it is clearly, okay, here's how I put it. He could be correct that at the federal level, it's not a partisan issue. I would disagree based on, of course, the policies that the Biden administration has been proposing for cryptocurrency. Personally, I think that they're by and large negative, right? As far as like the proposals that were put into place. But let's say that federally it's bipartisan, like it's a bipartisan issue. At the local level, it's very clear that the Democrats are, like in New York, for example, Kathy Hochul, are vehemently against cryptocurrency mining and Bitcoin mining in particular. But John Olson, New York policy lead at industry lobbying group Blockchain Association, thinks that the issue has too often developed into hyperpartisanship we've all experienced in other areas of political life. And like I said, like it's a pretty easy distinction. You look at New York and you look at what's going on between the parties and Bitcoin mining in general, and it is clear that it is a hyperpartisanship issue, where it is to the point to where Kathy Hochul won't even sit down with someone and have a reasonable conversation with them about Bitcoin mining policy, right? Amid this debate, the key states investors will be watching in the upcoming midterm elections are New York and Texas. In July, New York State passed legislation sponsored by Democrat Anna Keyes that prohibits the development of new mining facilities using carbon-based energy for 2 years as authorities study its impact on the environment, on local communities, and the environment. And to be clear, this is more than likely at this point going through. So if you are mining, you know, we're planning to spin up a mining farm, or you currently have one in New York, well, you know, things are not looking good. The legislation, which has not yet been signed into law, has nevertheless pushed the companies and jobs out of the state, SNEP said. Upcoming elections could show a public rebuke of this type of anti-jobs policy during a time of economic hardship, SNEP said. The economic impact of the moratorium was a sticking point for Democrats Clyde Vannell and Jeremy Cooney, who opposed the bill. Meanwhile, in Texas, arguably the world's latest Bitcoin mining hub with 1.5 gigawatts of mining projects, politicians are working with industry group Texas Blockchain Council to introduce legislation to, quote, support the continued development of the Bitcoin mining industry in Texas, end quote, said Steve Kinnard, the council's director at Bitcoin Mining Analytics. The TBC has identified 8 candidates from both parties who have demonstrated support for the blockchain, Bitcoin, and digital asset industry through in-depth technical knowledge of the space or willingness to engage on key policy issues, Kinnard said. The list includes Governor Greg Abbott. Of course, Greg Abbott did win, and that was retweeted by the Texas Blockchain Council, and they said congratulated him. Why are they worried about that? Because specifically, if cryptocurrency is your issue and you're worried about how it will be approached at the state level, then Greg Abbott was a better choice than Beto, because Beto has been clearly more on the environmental side of things. It is hyper politicized right now because environmentalism is hyper politicized to the point to where it is very close to the, as far as if you wanted to compare, you know, environmentalism to anything else, it is extreme. It is very clear that it is hyper partisanship. It is very clear that it is extremely close to issues like the trans issue, like abortion and so on. Maybe not as much as abortion, sure, I'll give you that, but it is hyper politicized. And so if you are in a position where you want to do what's best for cryptocurrency, you need to be paying attention to the politics and to the politicians that are, you know, advocating for you as somebody that participates within crypto. It seems ridiculous to me that you would vote for somebody that is basically vehemently opposed to what you believe in. The U.S. votes, so let's go ahead and check out the midterm elections crypto live blog and see. I think they had a couple big takeaways here that I wanted to go over. So it says, while a number of results have rolled in, it still seems to be far too early to tell whether Democrats retain control of both houses of Congress or if Republicans will take control of one or both bodies. As of midnight Eastern time, the New York Times rated the Senate a toss-up and the House leaning Republican. The markets focused on the FTX Alameda collapse, with few in the crypto industry focusing on midterms Tuesday. The market meltdown appears to have halted, at least for the moment, the price of major cryptocurrencies. It doesn't look to. It looks like we're about to drop below 17K on Bitcoin, right? Yeah, we just did. Boom, right there, 16,000. The price of major cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, Ether, BNB, and XRP, remain relatively steady over the past hour in the sharp contrast to downturns earlier in the day, according to CoinGecko. I think they're off as far as that goes. What we wanted to look at, though, is not so much this. So I wanted to point out this one. So the confounding factors might be the market itself. Bankman-Fried and FTX's collapse will likely have a negative impact on how crypto is perceived in Washington. Indeed, two longtime supporters of crypto, Republican Representative Patrick McHenry and Senator Cynthia Lummis, both argued that the collapse is a sign that the industry needs clearer regulation. And this is also where we're going to get into like the weeds here, is like we on this channel, we always point out that there's a bit of fear mongering when it comes to regulation. It's like these bad things happen, therefore, let the government regulate it. And that can be taken too far, right? There can be a slippery slope for regulation as far as all of this is concerned. But once again, we're in some sort of hybrid model. I think like the Texas state constitution being modified to basically protect the citizens' right to own and basically have some sort of digital currency, whatever digital currency they want, including stable coins, is important. I think a stable coin, for example, that would be based on like BRICS would be extremely interesting from a U.S. citizen perspective in the near future. And I think that putting a hindrance on the U.S.'s population to obtain that would be going in the incorrect direction. So I think protecting those rights is important. And it's important to also pay attention to people that are flip-flopping on the issue and basically pushing for more regulation when bad things happen. And so obviously Representative Patrick McHenry and Senator Cynthia Lummis are some to pay attention to here. So we also have the son of Reverend Jesse Jackson. Jonathan Jackson is one of the few congressional candidates in this election to have openly advocated for cryptocurrency during his campaign. The Democrat was easily winning in his Chicago district with 79% of the vote. So the crypto industry's political action committees can chalk up a victory here, having spent considerably to support his primary. In fact, they spent so much that Jackson, there we go, had to issue a statement that said the crypto dollars were technically independent expenditures under campaign finance rules and therefore out of his hands. Now, in New York, Governor Kathy Hochul won re-election Tuesday night. This is bad for crypto. Hochul has sat on a bill to prohibit new carbon-based crypto mining facilities for 2 years, which the state legislature passed earlier this year. She told reporters on numerous occasions that she was still reviewing the bill, but she hasn't expressed many other views on crypto. Republican Mark Wayne Mullen, also a recipient of crypto, was projected to win a full term in Senate from Oklahoma with 62% of the vote. He won a primary to fill the seat earlier this year, so hopefully that goes through and is successful. So far as like proponents of crypto, it does look like it's leaning towards pro-cryptocurrency as far as the people that are getting elected, right? Democratic Representative Josh Gothamir and Richie Torres, members of Congressional Blockchain Caucus, were holding onto their seats with about 58% more than 82% of the votes, respectively. Several other House candidates supported by the cryptocurrency industry also headed towards winner's circle Tuesday night, including Glenn Ivey, a Democrat who crushed his opponent in Maryland, and Republican Mark Alford, who sailed to a commanding victory in Missouri. And Missouri's Attorney General Eric Schmidt will be the next senator there, having been backed by one of the main industry's PACs. The industry may recall New York Democratic incumbent Representative Nydia Velasquez, or I think I said that right, who held a hearing on blockchain technology and small business in 2020, which didn't seem to produce any particular congressional action. She's winning re-election, so she'll be expected to return to the House Financial Services Committee. Republican J.D. Vance has an 8-point lead over his Democratic competitor, Tim Ryan, in the battle for retired Ohio Senator Rob Portman's open seat. The New York Times is reporting Vance is very likely to win with 82% of the votes in. Both Vance and Ryan have been vocal about their support for the cryptocurrency industry. The outgoing Portman was a key author of the bipartisan infrastructure law, which contained a crypto tax provision the industry lobbied unsuccessfully to defeat. Representative Warren Davidson, a leading pro-crypto Republican, won re-election to the House of Representatives. Davidson was the author of Token Taxonomy Act, an effort to create some legislative clarity on or around how cryptocurrencies would be regulated in the U.S. So another good win there. The crypto markets have remained relatively steady over the past hour. No, they aren't. They're taking a dump. So let's scroll down from here. I think that's... Yeah, so New York Times is predicting that former Republican Congressman Ted Budd will win the Senate seat in North Carolina, beating his Democratic competitor Sherry Beasley. 84% of the votes currently in, and Budd holds a 3-point lead. Budd was on the Congressional Blockchain Caucus and led a charge on several crypto-friendly policy initiatives. Overall, even if you have some Democratic, really... Here's what it looks like. It looks like primarily across the board, we're seeing pro-cryptocurrency advocates being elected. Outside of some of the outliers like in New York State where you got Kathy Hochul, and that's just looking like a terrible state to be in for cryptocurrency. But if you look outside of that, it looks like, well, even if it's a Democrat or a Republican, they appear to have some sort of crypto-friendly policy background. And that's going to really bode well, of course, for cryptocurrency later on, right? Obviously, what's going on now is a complete meltdown due to FTX and so on. And we'll have to see how that reacts. My assumption would be that you do end up with a huge push for a bunch of regulations surrounding it. And like I said, we'll be in some sort of weird hybrid model when it comes to that. And I'm not sure how that's going to all play out. But I think at the end of the day, you do end up in a position where we push for more and more cryptocurrency adoption. I think that there will be a ton of regulation that surrounds it. I think it'll be found out ultimately that it's nearly impossible to regulate. There are a lot of big talkers out there, the UN trying to say that, third world countries shouldn't have access to stable coins. Well, the reason they don't want them to have access is clearly because, well, they're showing their hand. They want to be able to control the spin up and the tear down of small third world countries economically so that they can financially benefit. And the more and more adoption that grows within cryptocurrency and basically digital adoption period across the board. By that, I mean like access to a cell phone for, essentially extremely poor people and countries, access to the internet, which is coming for extremely poor countries and people with Starlink, access to technology and eventually to cryptocurrency because of the technology could bring a lot more people out of poverty than anything else that has ever existed before. And it'll get extremely interesting. This is part of the reason why I've been so obsessed with, some of the writings from like Karl Marx with like Das Kapital and so on, some of the things that I've talked about over on my Twitch channel. Because we are getting to the point to where we are hitting, there's this idea that you hit a point where all like technology, the new technology, it used to be innovative and cost a lot of money, and basically why you need capitalism, ends up being accessible to everybody else down in the lower class. And that's really when you bring the lower class up, is by doing that. And I think that we are seeing that to a certain extent. And so from that perspective, that's exciting. I think the problem is that you have a whole bunch of people that still want it to be in another form, which is essentially, you know, an extremely rich, like top class and then the lower class. And to be fair, it could transfer into that depending on how the technology is utilized, right? If you end up in a position where the technology is utilized to control the lower class, then you end up in a position where nothing really changes. And so how all this plays out, like I said on Twitter, like I feel extremely blessed to be alive and watch this play out, because at the end of the day, like we're living through a generational shift. I mean, more than really a generational shift. Like, this is akin to the agricultural transformation or the industrial transformation. And I think like being able to live through a time like that is fascinating. And because it's digital, it's moving extremely fast. So we get to watch it happen, kind of all unfold in front of our eyes. That being said, we can also watch our RTX 4090s catch on fire if we hook them up wrong. But now they are saying, of course, that Johnny Guru is recommending users to check their connection. It does appear that we are seeing some sort of possibility of user error when connecting their 4090s, which could be the reason why they are catching fire. So since the release of the RTX 4090 graphics card, NVIDIA has seen multiple reports of issues with the 12VH PWR 16-pin power connector. Corsair's power supply expert Johnny Guru believes the issue lies in user error. Johnny Guru explains that users might not be fully inserting the 16-pin 12VH PWR connector cable into the graphics card, which would cause issues with the connection itself, with wires melting and connectors overheating. The theory is not new, as discussed previously, but is one in ideas that have arisen within technology circles from content creators, experts, and media sources. This also remains as a theory, as no complete evidence supports the idea. However, Johnny Guru shows us how he reached this verdict with the RTX 4090 GPU hardware and connection issues. And you can see here, totally not inserted correctly, he says. You can see that there's like a little bit, I guess these have to be invisible when they're fully plugged in, these little notches. First, the Corsair PSU expert uses a Corsair HX1500i utilizing 3 PCIe cables connected to NVIDIA's 16-pin 12VH PWR adapter. Including in the testing is the thermistor to monitor the temperatures and tie around the wires to ensure that the cables would not bend as much. To initiate the problem, he began damaging the connectors, especially durability of the joints that were soldered on the connection. Everything was still in place after the test, and the temperatures remained as high as 53°C. So he says no, there's no gap there. Next, he researched all known cases of melted and warped connections, reviewing each published picture and comparing undamaged connections to ones that were part of the melting and overheating issues. Recognizing similarities across all manufacturers, he came to a single conclusion. The PSU expert for Corsair noticed that it was not fully connected to the GPU in images where the cable or connection was damaged. He does recommend that users who own the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4090 graphics card and are worried about the same might happen to them use dielectric grease around $4 on Amazon, a minimal amount to the power connector, which is interesting. I suppose you would use the dielectric grease because actually plugging in the cable appears to be difficult, meaning you have to push down really hard. People are not wanting to break their 4090s, therefore they're not pushing them in hard enough, thereby not fully making the connection, and ironically actually damaging their card by trying not to damage their card, which is kind of crazy. That's what it sounds like is happening to me, if what they say is accurate. Now, when I look at the cable itself, what do I see? I see extremely close connections with extremely high power through the cables. And that is a cause for concern in general, because as we've seen I think throughout like this entire debacle is that the power connections themselves are extremely hot, regardless of if they've caught fire or not, right? In this case, saying that they're sitting at 53C, that's a power connector sitting at 53C. That's hot. That's not cool by any means, and especially for a power connector there. So I think that this is a multifaceted problem. Probably, I mean, not probably, but obviously if you aren't fully connecting the power connector, that could cause additional issues. Basically, you could have shorts that by that happening that would catch it on fire quicker. But I still think that it's very important to pay attention to how well the cable itself is built. If you have an RTX 4090 itself, I would recommend checking out Cable Mod and their specific cable, because they've kind of redesigned it to make sure that the connections within the connector itself are more spaced out, and that the cable is of high quality and heavy duty and thick, which is another problem that you could run into depending on who makes it. Basically, though, if you're going to use a 12VH PWR, you want to make sure that you are utilizing something that is robust, right? A nice sized, a nicely gauged out cable with, connectors that are very meticulously put together, because poor solder points are obviously going to cause an issue there too. And then make sure you're plugging it in all the way. Lube it up with some KY if you got to get it done. Not KY, the electric version of KY, the dielectric grease, just to be clear. I was making a little bit of a joke. Let's go ahead and talk about miner releases for the day. We have Team Black Miner version 1.73. So this was released 5 hours ago. Changes are submit solutions in a separate thread, faster pool speed, hash rate for ETHW and ETC, and kapow algorithms. CUDA 8 tuned for ETHW, ETC, ETF kernels, a bit faster on RTX cards is what they're claiming. They fixed a nonce problem that caused rejects on some pools for ET hash and ETC hash, and they added Ethereum fair pools to something. API is now running on at init, and test on the vert hash file size and recreate on wrong sides. So there you go. There's the new release. You can check out the link to it down in the description below if you want to take a look at it yourself there. Finally, we are going to talk about mining profitability for the day, and we'll get into that right after the ad. If you guys don't mind hitting that like button, if you enjoy this type of content and sharing out, be the notification. We are suffering from obviously low viewer counts. That could be due to my failure as well as a failure of the part of cryptocurrency. We are obviously seeing massive dumps down on cryptocurrency itself. That's going to hurt interest and so on. And at the Q&A, we'll talk about what my plan here is for the near future, or hopefully what that's going to be. So let's go ahead and get the ad running, and then we'll be right back. Today's sponsor is myself. To support the channel, click the join button below the video and you will get access to our privately hosted Rocket Chat. Selecting the $1.99 option will get you access, and after that, you need to head over to the membership tab, scroll down, and expand out your membership perks. Find the section for connecting on social media, and in that section there will be a secret registration URL to join Rocket Chat, where you can sign up to enjoy talking with other cryptocurrency enthusiasts and miners without spammers, scammers, or bots. All right. We have mining profitability for the RTX 3090. We're going to have to refresh it here because the markets have been taking a dump. Does look like Bitcoin's recovered back over 17,000. And Ethereum has come down to 1191. Mining profitability at 10 cents a kilowatt hour with corrected ZIL hash, kapow, ProgPal, and Fira proof of work algorithms. You're losing 30, or let's see, the least amount on Vertcoin at 27 cents a day. Coming in second to that is Ergo, losing 28 cents a day. And then looking for the big boys, we'll scroll down here. Let's see. Caspa has moved up on the list, losing 37 cents a day. Ravencoin at 41 cents a day of a loss. Flux at 42 cents a day at a loss. And Ethereum Classic at 49 cents a day at a loss. So obviously things not looking good for mining profitability. As you guys know, most of my equipment is turned off. Hopefully we'll see that change in the next 2 years. Like I said, and I always say I'm kind of expecting that to be around 2024 in December. That being said, over the past 7 days, really over the past couple days, but 7 days overall, we're seeing a 16% drop in the price of Bitcoin. However, the hash rate has gone up to 281 exahash a second. Yesterday, we were sitting about 270, so 10 exahash a second added on. Network hash rates showing 295 exahash a second. So price of Bitcoin tanking. However, the actual difficulty and amount of hash rate on the network is going up. Just not a very good sign for, like, obviously for cryptocurrency miners, Bitcoin miners in general. It's going to be tough times out there for some time, right? And I think that we're going to see a lot of volatility coming up. If we take a look at ETH Classic, it's down 13% over the past 7 days. And we've seen a dip off a little bit of hash rate. It's down to 155 terahash a second from 160. ETH Proof of Work is down 34% over the past 7 days and sitting at 33 terahash a second. And Ethereum Fair is down 19% over the past 7 days and is at 4 terahash a second. Ergo looked like it was doing pretty good, so let's take a look. Ergo is down 8% over the past 7 days, so actually performing pretty good in comparison to the rest of the market. Its hash rate has gone up from about 40 terahash a second to 48 terahash a second. And is sitting at basically $1.72. Its difficulty has been pretty consistent ever since EIP 37, which is good to note. Flux, let's take a look, down 26% over the past 7 days, down to 50 cents per, and it is sitting still around 7 to 8 mega solutions a second. Technically, it's down about 0.6 mega solutions a second compared to yesterday. And then if we take a look at Kaspa, let's go ahead and do it. Rocking the Kaspa. Kaspa is actually up over the past 7 days. It's sitting at 27% increase over the past 7 days. However, tons of hash rate coming onto the network, over 207 terahash a second on the total network. And that is primarily due to either some sort of FPGA or ASICs. It's very hard to tell at this point. There is the rumor of the ASIC. However, there is no real confirmation of that ASIC being real. I have some doubts surrounding it because the ASIC does tout that it will be able to mine Ergo as an ASIC later on. And I don't see how you leap from heavy hash to Auto Lycos 2 by any stretch of the imagination. So usually when I see an advertisement like that, I call BS on it. But speaking of ASICs, let's take a look at the ASIC miner profitability via MinerStat. Antminer L7 still in first place. And I think it is, sitting around $35 a day on Digibyte and Doge. If we take a look at the Gold Shell HS3, it's sitting at $6 a day on HNS or on Handshake. The Antminer D7 coming in third, making a $5.66 a day on Dash after 10 cents a kilowatt hour. And then you have the Jazzminer X4 in fourth place at essentially $4.64, dual mining Ethereum Classic in Zilliqa. Then going down from there, we're going to take a look at fifth place, which is the Antminer Z15, doing $2.20 a day on Zencoin. Finally, scrolling down to the Antminer S19 Pro, which we like to take a look at every day. Let's take a look at what it's doing on Bitcoin. Unfortunately, it does look like if you are trying to mine Bitcoin at 10 cents a kilowatt hour, you are losing $1 a day. There is apparently some profit to be had mining SHA-256 through a service like NiceHash, but I wouldn't really trust that very much. So, unfortunately, home miner's not looking that good. Let's get into questions and answers. And remember, super chats are never required, always appreciated, first to be answered. If you don't mind hitting that like button, I'd like to see some more likes in the chat. We're at 159 likes. That's pretty good. I'd like to get close to 200 if possible. And I want to thank everybody for being here. This has been the best turnout that we've had for the week, hitting a concurrent viewership of 300 there for a little bit. And then once we were done talking about politics, everybody left. So if you're one of those guys that wants to tell me not to talk about politics, well, guess what? You're wrong. People do want to know about politics, and they do want to know the way their representatives are approaching the cryptocurrency subject, and therefore we will continue to cover it. Also, I'm getting a day job hopefully today, and I will be hopefully working that. So we're going to be taking a look at shifting the schedule. I'll let you guys know when that's going to happen, but we will probably be moving the mining show to the evening. All right. So Latrell says, at Summit, do you think it's a matter of time before Binance folds next? I don't think that Binance will fold, primarily because I think Binance has the capability to survive and has proven that they have the capability to survive bear markets. If anything, I would expect crypto.com to collapse next, if anything. And then potentially, you know, I think the two that really survive is, I think Coinbase survives too, because they've been around long enough. I think crypto.com overinvested and kind of stretched themselves thin. So that's why I say crypto.com would be the next one to fall, if any, if I had to take an absolute guess there. That's a shot in the dark. I don't know for sure. And I do have a bias because they did drop, you know, I did lose the sponsorship from them. So, but I promise I'm not letting that affect me. However, for complete transparency, you should know that that is what happened. You know, my sponsorship wasn't for that much money. And the fact that they can't even afford that tells me that things also don't really look that good for crypto in general. Latrell says, that's some tech, or we already did that. XRP says, that's some tech. Did you see the new overclock that Red Panda made? No, I didn't. I haven't been watching it. So losing 20 cents a day on your whole 83070 rig, and that's 12.5 cents electric. No, I saw the video. I saw the thumbnail. I didn't watch it. Is he just locking the core down? Or I mean the memory down? Because we've already done that. Babblefish says, at Blind Run, good morning. GM Babblefish, how you doing today? And says, good luck on the job interview. I think I'll be good. Well, I do have to start getting prepared for it here in a little bit, so we'll get there and get going. Yeah, everybody keeps saying the Osprey E300. I'll believe it when I see it and somebody actually has it. The Osprey E300 looks fake to me. KJ UK Miner says, that's time to tech. More breaking news for you. Binance is strongly leaning towards scrapping FTX rescue takeover after first glance at books. I mean, we kind of covered all that, I guess. Yeah, well, that is breaking, because if they don't buy it, then I guess they're screwed, right? So let's take a look and see what they're saying. Breaking news, thanks to KJ UK Miners. Binance is strongly leaning towards scrapping FTX rescue takeover after first glance at books. And here's the source, backing out what would be one more stunning development in the collapse of Sam Bankman-Fried, Fried's crypto empire. Janny Cohen, thank you for the 140 ZAR super sticker, keeping the dream alive. I don't know, I think the dream's dead right now, but it'll come back alive. It's fine. Let's get into this. Cryptocurrency exchange giant Binance is highly unlikely to go through with its proposed acquisition of struggling rival FTX after less than a day of reviewing the company, according to a person familiar with that matter. I don't really like this very much because there's no real hardcore source, right? A person familiar with the matter. Like, is that just some YouTuber like me talking some BS? You know what I mean? Is it just BitBoy Crypto out there talking some BS right now? Binance's non-binding letter of intent for the takeover, announced Tuesday as FTX's financial position appeared to be spiraling out of control, hinged on Binance's performing due diligence. Roughly half a day into the process of reviewing FTX's internal data and loan commitments has led Binance to strongly lean against completing the transaction, the person said. Binance declined to comment on the current status of the proposed deal. FTX also declined to comment. After CoinDesk released this story, losses in the cryptocurrency and U.S. stock market worsened. Bitcoin has revisited a 2022 low of 17,100. It actually dropped to 16,900. Just so you guys are aware, it's bounced back over 1700. And it says, returning to its post-merge low, Ethereum has hit 1160. The CoinDesk Market Index, CMI, recently was down 5.2% from 24 hours earlier. The S&P 500, the benchmark for American equities, fell to its low of the day. Backing out would be yet one more stunning step in the week of drama. CoinDesk a week ago published a scoop about the balance sheet of Alameda Research, the corporate sibling of FTX. It is hilarious to me that basically CoinDesk keeps bragging that they single-handedly had a scoop that collapsed the entire crypto market. We get it, CoinDesk. We get that you got the scoop. We understand. Thanks for crashing the entire market. We get it, guys. Binance then struck the deal after FTX had sought help from and was turned down by other large exchanges, Coinbase and OKX, according to people familiar with the matter. Not really very strong evidence here that they're declining to purchase it. We'll have to wait for confirmation on that. Hopefully we'll get it by today. Daniel Ring says he got 2 notifications from YouTube today. That is awesome. Battlefish says that Tech Red Pan's video was just locked core at low value for good efficiency. Yeah, I mean, we've been locking the core on that for a while. We already had talked about that, right? I think we had our 3070s at like crazy efficiency with locked core. What, 5 mega hash per watt? Was that what we were getting on Caspa? T. Scott says regulation is literally never the answer. I tend to agree with you, but you know, my political bias is libertarian by, you know, definition. So I do lean towards that. I Am Me says that Tech Russell's video was gold, was seriously cracking my ass off. You should do some more of those videos. And then he retracted the message. Yeah, we'll be doing more. Like, we go stream on Twitch. We're going to go stream on Twitch right now. And we're going to do some more reviews. So if you guys want me to essentially react to anything in general or do anything over there, let me know. We'll go ahead and complete here, I think, the Q&A portion of this. Unless you guys got more questions, we're going to head on over to Twitch. On Twitch, I got maybe... Yeah, I think let me check my schedule. I want to make sure I got this right. I think that I have my interview at 1. And then I'm having some baby mama drama, and I got 2 more interviews at 3 and 4. I'm going to have to change this one. That one was canceled. Okay, good. So I don't have anything till 4. I just got to pick up the kids at that time, and then I have another meeting at 4 o'clock. So, as it sits right now, we're going to move over to Twitch for, how far is this away? Me trying to schedule here. We're just going to move over to Twitch. We'll talk about timing and when we're going to end over there. Let me get in any more questions that you guys got. Shio says, at Summit Tech, hi man, good to see you. Just some food for thought about the see you next Tuesday catchphrase. Maybe there are people believing that you cast only on Tuesdays. No, I don't think that's true because it's a Wednesday today, and today was the most amount of views we've had in a while. John Lemon says, did you move again? No, I'm going through a divorce right now, so I'm actually out at the mining farm. I redid the office here at the mining farm and I'm living here for now. KJ says, at Son of a Tech, U.S. probes FTX over handling off of clients' funds and lending. We'll check that out, I guess, here in a little bit. T-Scott says 99 problems, am I right? Yeah, you got that, sir. Sir. Yeah, no, I mean, like, we lost, I always say we, when the fact of the matter is I am a very lonely individual. I lost everything in about the span of, like, I don't know. It started like August 24th and then it just went to shit. So everything went to shit really quick. We lost all of our revenue. We lost the Crypto.com sponsorship because they tricked me into signing a contract that was only 3 months long, and they fucked me over even though I had a contract that was supposed to go through May of next year. They gave me a new representative. The new representative asked me to re-sign the contract, and then they cut the contract down to 3 months, and then they canceled it. So that ended in November. So they kind of screwed me on that. YouTube views dropped by 60%. So the revenue dropped over there by about $4,000. So, and then the mining farm, obviously on September 15th, went to the point of completely unprofitable. A little bit before that, we already had the energy costs going up. And even though my power agreement says that I should only pay them 5.5 cents a kilowatt hour, they have an additional fee that's making it 14.5 cents a kilowatt hour. A lot of lessons learned, especially with like reading contracts and double checking them. And that goes with power companies, that goes with sponsors, that goes with everything. I lost, and then I was sick. It was bad. I had E. coli that turned into pneumonia, got a little bit better, went to the mining conference, caught COVID, which turned into pneumonia again. And then I barely got better from the pneumonia. And I was talking to my wife because I wasn't feeling good and I was feeling like kind of suicidal from the antibiotics and so on. And instead of that, reaction went completely the opposite way, and I didn't get any support and just got a request for divorce. So that's the catch up, guys. I've learned a lot, and I'm just going to try to move forward and figure out what I'm going to do. But that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. I'm going to go try to get a job today, and take a break. I'll probably, if I do get the job, I might take a break from YouTube for a little bit, just because, a majority of the YouTube stuff and the Twitter, like, y'all are awesome, and majority of everybody, thank you all for the support and everything, but like, the revenue's not there at all, and all it really ends up being is a bunch, like, the problem is I want to stay as far away from negativity as possible, and there's a lot of people, especially like, anybody that I may have pissed off in the Ergo community or the Raven Coin community because I didn't pump them properly or whatever it may be. There's enough trolling there that emotionally I don't really want to deal with it. So I might take a little bit of a break. But we are going to be posting some more content on locals as well. I just got done talking to the team over at Rumble and Locals. And we're working on some content that's going to be going over exclusively on sonofatech.locals.com. But yeah, I mean, it could get worse. I could definitely be on the street. I owe another $3,900 to keep my power on here at the farm. I turned off all my equipment and they still charge the kilowatt per hour charge, like per my agreement, was $400, and they still charged me another $864 in the recovery fee. So they charged 300% of what my actual bill is, and so I might lose power here as well, because I really can't pay that by the 14th. So I might have, it can definitely get worse, and it probably is going to get worse, but I can only live day to day, so fuck it. I'll see you guys over on Twitch. Let's go ahead and get it. I'm kind of done with the sob story. That is just as transparent as I can get. So let's go ahead and hit over twitch.tv and go talk more about crypto. There's some more articles that are going on, and we'll be talking to you guys directly. Thanks everybody for all the support, and we'll be over there. All right.